Gen friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Voted by a certain ecosystem in their host countries, which is why they think that, whatever the white man says is great, whatever the white man says will happen. It is that nothing has happened. Ukraine has failed. And the biggest proof that Ukraine has failed is that if Ukraine had not failed, why is the wartime defense minister being sacked? Gen friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. Now friends, Joe Biden is coming to India. We've discussed this before. From 7th to 10th, he'll be here to attend the G20 summit and he's going to meet a whole lot of world leaders. You see, Rishi Sunak is going to be there. And of course, Joe Biden, Prince Mohammed bin Salman and so many other people who are part of G20 are going to be here. And you see, there are 2-3 things. First of all, he said he's disappointed that Xi Jinping is not coming, reacting to media reports. This is what President Joe Biden said, that Xi Jinping is not coming and he's disappointed. And also the fact that I think Joe Biden is happy Xi Jinping is not coming. And let me tell you what are the geopolitical games that are being played right now. And Vietnam is a very important part because after the G20, Joe Biden flies off to a Vietnam tour. So he'll go to Vietnam after this and from there he'll go back to the US of A. Now, just to put all those geopolitical cards on the table for you very quickly. What's happening is that China's rise and China's negative influence in the world is a cause of worry for everybody, every civilized nation. And the United States of America is no exception, and the US does not like the fact that China has developed disproportional heft. Let me use this term. China has developed disproportional heft. Now, US is of course guilty because it all happened because of the US and Europe. But the fact of the matter is now US is trying to make amends. And China does not like that. So how is the US making amends? As I've told you before, ladies and gentlemen, the US is pulling back economically, right? It's pulling back economically. And now what the US is saying is that in this G20 meeting, what is happening is that all the people who are going to be there, all the heads of state, the idea is to lobby with them and to have a bigger caucus, if I may use that word, a bigger caucus, a bigger grouping against China. It may mean tie-ups with India. It may mean giving India defense technology. Of course, it will not happen here in G20. This is just a platform for discussion. It's not going to happen here. It will happen over a period of months and years later on. But this is a very important meeting because the world clearly is divided into 2 parts. There is China with a couple of allies. Those are not allies. Those are people who have taken loans from China. Hence, they are allies not by conviction and ideology, but because they have to be allies because they've taken money from China. And the other part is the free-thinking, democratic world, the world that believes in human rights and values, etc. So clearly, the world is divided into 2 parts. Now, China, because of its reserves, because of its money, exerts influence across the world, which, the United States of America and Joe Biden are trying to counter. After India, after this G20, he flies to Vietnam. See, Vietnam has got good relations with China and decent relations with Russia. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you need to hear this very carefully. Both the countries have fought wars, with Vietnam. America was there for 10 years plus in Vietnam, suffered thousands of casualties. China attacked Vietnam in 1979 and got a beating of its lifetime. They got a solid thrashing. So both these countries have been on the wrong side of Vietnam at one point in time. But here's the catch. The catch is that Vietnam is now close to China and also close to Russia by extension. What Joe Biden wants to do is go there, go to Vietnam. I don't know the last time when Xi Jinping traveled any place. Xi Jinping is very safe in China. He doesn't venture out a lot. He goes, but he goes to places where he can control the narrative. So, for example, the SCO summit. The SCO summit that happened last year, he went to the SCO summit because it is the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. It is a China-led grouping. And he felt that he could control it. So this guy went to Uzbekistan and he went wherever. So, he had gone there and he visited, he stayed there for 2 days and then he came back. So all these things have happened, ladies and gentlemen. All these things have happened and today Xi Jinping does not feel that he can control the G20, so Xi Jinping is not coming here. And for various reasons that we have discovered in the past. But here is something that you need to know. You see, when Joe Biden goes to Vietnam, he's telling the Vietnamese that we are friends. Tell me how we can help you. It's that simple. The Vietnamese economy is export dependent. The Vietnamese economy, I repeat, ladies and gentlemen, is export dependent. And do you think China is going to outsource manufacturing to Vietnam? Absolutely not. It is the Americans and the Europeans. And this is the biggest card that Joe Biden has in his hand, to tell the Vietnamese that, we'll nudge Apple into giving you more contracts. You want to make Ford cars or you want to make Harley Davidson motorcycles? Why not? Because all they have to do is gently tell their people, their manufacturers, that shift out of China and come to Vietnam, manufacture in Vietnam. That's all that they have to do. And it'll start happening because all these companies, majority of the companies which are manufacturing in China, either American companies or European companies. And where America goes, Europe follows. So this is the card that Joe Biden is going to be playing in Vietnam. In another news, ladies and gentlemen, the Khalistanis are really messed up. And I feel sorry for these sad sacks, these Khalistanis. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to G20 Like Sites. So sites which have a similar name like G20 or, various sites. They're trying to confuse people. The Khalistanis themselves are confused. I don't know how they can confuse other people. And they're also telling the farmers, the poor farmers, the hardworking farmers of Punjab, they're telling them that, join militancy. They're encouraging farmers to join. First of all, no farmer is joining any militancy of any kind. Clearly, these people are stuck in that late 70s, early 80s, that time capsule. You see in those science fiction TV series like Star Trek, people are caught in that time capsule. They're permanently there and they aren't able to get out of it. Khalistanis are like that. They're still living in the 80s. They don't realize that Punjab has changed. They don't realize that India has changed. And they keep on repeating the same thing again and again and again. And I guess to a very large extent, they're supported by a certain ecosystem in their host countries, which is why they think that, whatever the white man says is great. Whatever the white man says will happen. I don't know why a person who belongs to a good family, a rich family, a decent family, but does not have qualifications, would want to go to Canada and drive an Uber. Not that driving an Uber is anything bad. Every profession is respectable, but Khalistanis do that very often. They go abroad and they drive Ubers and they leave behind large tracts of land. I mean, some of them are wealthy people. But this whole thing about being in a white country, racism is embedded in the Khalistani mind, which is what I'm trying to tell you. So what happens here is that, Khalistani is trying to tell farmers that pick up weapons, fight against India. Nothing's going to happen here. Nothing is going to happen, and this G20 will happen. G20 will happen successfully. All of us are very, very sure. So if the Khalistanis want to try something, please go and try something. Don't waste our time by, giving empty threats to us. Also, in Surrey, what these Khalistanis did was they hired the premises of a school called the Tamanvis Secondary School. And in the Tamanvis Secondary School, these Khalistani idiots, they put up posters of Talvinder Singh Parmar, who's the guy who blew up the 1985 Air India flight 182. Yeah, the bombing of that flight, remember? I think this is that Kanishka flight. And they put this guy's face and they put a weapon there, an AK-47, and they said that we want to have this meeting in the school. The school guys freaked out. They said, who's this? Who are these guys? They said they just want to have a social meeting or a social gathering, and we had leased out our premises to them. Now, apparently, it's not a social gathering. Apparently, something else altogether. Apparently, what these Khalistanis are doing is, propagating terrorism there. So people in Surrey got together and said, no, get lost from here. We don't want you any longer. So then this event was cancelled. This Khalistani event was cancelled. And it's very surprising, they keep on doing the referendum for some reason. I don't know who has advised them to do the referendum. And, I really don't know what the Khalistanis are thinking about. You want to make Khalistan in Punjab. And so you should do the referendum in Punjab. Why are you doing the referendum in Canada? I don't know why Gurpatwant Singh Pannu and the likes are doing a referendum in Canada, in Australia, in the US, in UK, whereas they want to make Khalistan in Indian Punjab. Oh, this is something that defies explanation. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, the last news of the day is from Ukraine, and our good friend Zelensky has sacked Oleksiy Reznik. Oleksiy Reznik is the wartime defense minister of Ukraine, and he was the man who was supposed to be in charge of this thrust through Russian defenses. He was the guy who was telling the forces, go here, go there, and smash through the Russian defenses and smash through the Russian minefields. Just batter them down and go ahead and walk into Russia. And that has not happened. And this is something that the global media, especially BBC and CNN, they were selling to the rest of the world. The Russian defenses have collapsed. And they have said it on more than one occasion, without any proof. Russian defenses have collapsed. Russia has collapsed. And people are marching in triumphantly and they're doing this and that. The fact of the matter is that nothing has happened. Ukraine has failed. And the biggest proof that Ukraine has failed is that if Ukraine had not failed, why is the wartime defense minister being sacked? He's being sacked because he did not perform. And now Zelensky wants new approaches, new ideas. He wants a guy with new ideas as to how to breach the Russian defenses. This is what the game is about. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata ki Jai.